It started with a phone call. A familiar voice I hadn't heard in over a decade, cutting through the static with a simple, quiet request. Meet me, just once. I should have ignored it. I should have deleted the message, tossed the burner phone into the nearest storm drain, and walked away. But curiosity is a dangerous thing, and by the time I stepped into my car, the past had already wrapped its hands around my throat. The meeting spot was an abandoned rest stop off Route 7. Once a place for late-night deals, now reduced to cracked pavement, shattered beer bottles, and the echoes of things long forgotten. He was waiting for me, leaning against the hood of an old sedan. His face was older, harder, mirroring the years that had passed. "I hear you're still in the business of saving lost causes," he said. "Guess that makes two of us," I replied. I didn't ask what he wanted. I didn't need to. Favors like this always had a way of circling back when you least expected them. As I drove away, gripping the wheel too tight, I realized this was one of those moments. A moment I couldn't undo. The Last Stop Tavern. The Last Stop Tavern stood at a lonely crossroads along Route 7, right where three counties met, just beyond city jurisdiction. To the locals, it was simply the stop. A hangout for off-duty cops, making it an unlikely place for clandestine meetings, which ironically made it the perfect place for mine. The parking lot was nearly full when I pulled in. Inside, the place was alive with movement. A band played a lazy blues tune in the corner, and the smell of whiskey and fried food thickened the air. The regulars barely glanced at me, but I felt the weight of the unspoken. Because to them, I was a man who had gotten away with something. There had been no trial, no charges, no body. And yet, in everyone's mind, I was guilty. I walked past clusters of men in uniform, their conversations pausing as I moved through the room. At the back of the bar, a man waited for me, a man whose very presence in my life was a debt unpaid. Sergeant Devin Cross. He looked up, expression unreadable, as I took the seat across from him. "This better be good," I muttered. Devin didn't waste time. He leaned forward, voice low. "Sunday morning, 6 a.m. There's a warrant. They're coming for your home and your office." For a moment, everything stilled. Then, with a calculated movement, I shoved my chair back, loud enough to turn heads. Devin flinched as I stood abruptly. "You listen to me," I said, my voice sharp enough to slice through the noise of the bar. "I don't take advice from rats. Hell, even Lottie here would be a better friend than you." I jabbed a finger toward Lottie, the bartender, who was watching with raised brows. Then, without another word, I stormed out. To anyone watching, it looked like a cop had tried to shake me down for confession, and I'd given him nothing but hostility in return. To Devin, it was the only way to keep him clean. Out in the cold night air, I took a slow, measured breath. This was my mess, my mistake, and if I wanted to win, I needed to be smarter. The journal that changed everything. Even now, the words from my late wife's journal clung to me like a swarm of hornets. Each confession another sting. October 1st. I saw him again today. Jenny says she knows him, says she's been with him. He's a cop, which means he's probably watching me because of Bruce, but I don't understand why. Bruce is just a lawyer. I shut the journal. Then I reached for my phone. The call connected on the third ring. "Do you have any idea what time it is?" The voice on the other end was thick with sleep. "I need security. Full blackout at both my home and my office before sunrise on Sunday." A sigh. "That's 24 hours. You're cutting it close." "Just get it done." The line went dead. I stared at the journal, at the words my wife had written before she disappeared. The words that told me everything I had ignored. The words that told me how it all began. October 15th. Bruce is out of town again. He's been gone a lot lately. If it were anyone else, I'd suspect an affair. But Bruce? Numbered. The man is as loyal as a golden retriever and just as predictable. October 17th. Paul was at the gym again today. This time he caught me staring. He didn't smirk, didn't call me out on it, just met my eyes. I had to be the one to look away first. November 2nd. Went to vote today. Paul was there again. This time he spoke to me. Are you still spying on me? I had teased. He had only smirked. It's my job. That's my excuse anyway. Excuse? I had asked. What if you were following me? I had laughed. I'd say I didn't need an excuse. Exactly. So why do I need one? I had rolled my eyes. Oh, come on. I'm the mother of a teenager. I'm ancient. That doesn't change anything. You're still beautiful. The kind of woman younger men dream about. November 9th. Paul has been reassigned. He's no longer watching me, which means the department no longer sees me as a suspect, which means whatever they think Bruce did, they think I had no part in it. I stared at the journal, at the final words she had written before she vanished. Maybe I should get a personal trainer. If I'm already catching Paul's attention, imagine what I could do if I really tried. I clenched my jaw. The past had finally caught up to me, and now I had 24 hours to figure out who was coming for me before it was too late. Paul's hand lingered on mine for a moment, too long to be mistaken for casual. His fingers were warm, steady, and deliberate, sending a shiver through me that I tried to suppress. It also means, he continued, voice low and firm, that I'm no longer obligated to watch from a distance. My breath hitched. I pulled my hand away, wrapping both around my latte, as if it could shield me from the weight of his words. You shouldn't say things like that, I murmured. Why? His expression didn't shift. Because it's true? I shook my head. Because it's dangerous. Paul exhaled through his nose, leaning back in his seat. You don't strike me as someone who plays it safe. I swallowed hard, my gaze flickering to the cafe's entrance. If anyone I knew walked in right now and saw me sitting with him, it would only feed the whispers that had already begun circling town. Whatever you think this is, I said carefully, it's not happening. Paul studied me for a long moment, then gave a small smirk. If you say so. I should have left then, gathered my things, walked away, and never looked back. But something in his eyes held me there. A pull I couldn't explain, a force stronger than reason. And deep down, I knew this wasn't the last time I'd see him. That night, I tossed and turned in bed, staring at the ceiling while Bruce slept soundly beside me. His breathing was steady, his presence comforting, but my mind was elsewhere. On Paul, on the way he looked at me, on the way I felt when he was near. I hated myself for it. I was a grown woman, a wife, a mother. I had a stable life, a good home. So why did I feel like something was missing? The next morning, I pushed away my thoughts and focused on routine. Work, errands, lunch with Jenny. You look like someone with a secret, Jenny teased as we sipped our drinks at an outdoor cafe. I rolled my eyes. You say that every time I see you. And I'm usually right. She grinned, then leaned forward, lowering her voice. Let me guess, Paul? I stiffened. Oh my God, she whispered. You saw him again, didn't you? It was nothing, I said quickly. Just a chance encounter. Jenny smirked knowingly. And nothing. Her smirk widened. You're such a bad liar. I exhaled, rubbing my temples. Even if I were tempted, and I'm not, it wouldn't matter. Paul's a cop. My husband is a lawyer with powerful enemies. This is the worst possible scenario. Jenny shrugged. Sometimes the worst decisions are the most exciting. I gave her a pointed look. You realize you're not exactly a role model, right? She laughed. I never claimed to be. But later that evening, as I dressed for a late workout at the gym, her words echoed in my mind. The worst decisions are the most exciting. Maybe that was my problem. Maybe I'd been playing it too safe for too long. Maybe I wanted excitement. The gym was nearly empty by the time I arrived. A few people were scattered around, lifting weights, jogging on treadmills. I headed for the back where the private training rooms were. I didn't expect to see him, but there he was. Paul stood near the free weights, wiping sweat from his brow, his t-shirt clinging to his chest. His gaze met mine immediately as if he'd been waiting. I hesitated, then walked past him without a word. Or at least I tried to. Elena, he called softly. I froze. Slowly, I turned back to him. You shouldn't be here. He lifted a brow. This is a public gym. You know what I mean. Paul studied me for a long moment, then took a step closer. Tell me to leave, he said. And I will. I opened my mouth. To say what, I wasn't sure, but the words never came. Because deep down, I didn't want him to leave. The realization hit me like a freight train. I was in trouble. Paul saw it too. His lips curved in a slow, knowing smirk. You don't want me to go, he murmured. I forced a breath. This is wrong. Then why are you still here? I had no answer, because he was right. And when he reached out, fingers brushing lightly against my wrist, I didn't pull away. Not this time. The next few weeks blurred into something dangerous. Paul and I hadn't crossed the final line. Not yet. But we were close. Too close. The stolen glances, the late-night texts, the way he found reasons to be near me, and worst of all, the way I let him. Guilt gnawed at me every time I looked at Bruce. He didn't deserve this. He was a good man. But no matter how much I tried to push Paul away, something kept pulling me back. And then, one evening, everything changed. Bruce came home late, his expression grim. They issued the warrant, he said, setting his briefcase down. My stomach tightened. Already? They're coming Sunday morning. His jaw clenched. We don't have much time. A chill ran through me. Bruce had secrets, ones that I never asked about, ones I wasn't sure I wanted to know. But if the authorities were coming after him, it meant trouble. I swallowed hard. What do we do? Bruce exhaled, rubbing his temples. I've got it handled. But I wasn't sure he did. And worse, I wasn't sure I wanted him to. Because somewhere, deep inside, a terrible thought had begun to form. What if Bruce was guilty? And what if Paul was the only one telling me the truth? The next morning, I met Paul at a small cafe on the outskirts of town. He was already waiting, his expression unreadable. You know about the warrant, I said quietly. Paul nodded. I do. I hesitated, then lowered my voice. Is he guilty? Paul didn't answer right away. Finally, he sighed. Elena, if I tell you the truth, you won't like it. Dread coiled in my stomach. But yes, he said softly. He is. The world tilted. I'd spent years defending Bruce, standing by his side, believing he was the man I thought I married. But what if I'd been wrong? Paul leaned forward, eyes locked on mine. You have a choice, he murmured. Stay with him, go down with him, or walk away while you still can. A lump formed in my throat, because deep down I already knew the answer. I just wasn't sure if I was ready to admit it. Paul's words settled over me like a heavy weight, suffocating yet undeniable. You have a choice. Stay with him, go down with him, or walk away while you still can. For so long I had convinced myself that Bruce was a good man. That despite his distant nature, his long nights at the office, and the whispered conversations he never explained, he was someone I could trust. But now that trust was crumbling. I wrapped my fingers around my coffee cup, staring into the dark liquid as if it could provide answers. If he's guilty, my voice wavered. Then what happens next? Paul exhaled slowly. The case is strong. He won't be able to escape it. I swallowed hard. And me? His eyes softened. That depends on where you stand. I lifted my gaze to meet his, and for the first time, I admitted the truth out loud. I don't think I love him anymore. The words felt like a betrayal, but deep down I knew they had been true for a long time. Paul didn't look surprised. If anything, he seemed to already know. Then you need to decide what you're willing to do about it. A lump formed in my throat. I don't know how to walk away from a life I built. His hand found mine, warm and steady. You're stronger than you think, Elena. For the first time in years, I believed it. But strength wasn't enough. Not when I was about to make the hardest decision of my life. That evening, I arrived home to find Bruce pacing the living room, tension carved into every line of his face. They're moving faster than expected, he muttered, running a hand through his hair. We need to prepare for the worst. A chill ran down my spine. What does that mean? Bruce stopped pacing and turned to face me. If things go south, I need you to back me up. You understand? I hesitated. Back you up? How? His jaw tightened. Just say you don't know anything. That everything they're accusing me of is a lie? My stomach twisted. Bruce, I can't. You can. He interrupted, his voice sharp. And you will. Panic rose in my chest. What exactly are you asking me to lie about? His eyes darkened. Nothing that concerns you. I took a step back, suddenly seeing him in a way I never had before. It does concern me. I need to know the truth, Bruce. He stared at me for a long moment before exhaling, shaking his head. I don't have time for this. He grabbed his phone and walked into his office, slamming the door behind him. And in that moment, I realized I was nothing more than a pawn to him. A shield he planned to use to protect himself. The man I had once trusted was now someone I didn't even recognize. I needed to get out. And I needed to do it before it was too late. The next morning, I woke up before sunrise. Bruce was still asleep, his breathing slow and steady beside me. I moved quietly, grabbing only the essentials. My phone, wallet, a few changes of clothes. My hands trembled as I stuffed them into a bag. I had no plan. Only one thought echoed in my mind. Leave. Before he drags you down with him. As I reached the front door, my phone vibrated. Paul. I hesitated, then answered in a whisper. I'm leaving. A pause, then his voice, steady and calm. Where are you? Home. I swallowed, but not for long. I'll meet you. He didn't ask if I was sure. He didn't question my decision. Because deep down we both knew I had already made my choice. I stepped outside, my heart hammering against my ribs. The sky was still dark, the street silent. I took a deep breath and started walking. Away from the life I once knew, and toward the only future I had left. I didn't look back. As I walked away from the house I had once called home, a strange mix of fear and relief washed over me. My heart pounded against my ribs, my breath unsteady, but for the first time in years I felt awake. The air was crisp, the streets eerily quiet as the weight of my decision settled on my shoulders. There was no turning back now. My phone buzzed in my hand. Paul? I hesitated, then answered. I left. A pause, then his voice, calm but firm. Where are you? I glanced around. A few blocks from the house. I didn't want to take my car. He might track it. Smart. I heard movement on his end. I'm coming to get you. Stay where you are. I exhaled, my fingers tightening around the phone. Okay. As I waited, my mind raced. Bruce wouldn't just let me go. If he found out I left, especially after refusing to stand by his side, what would he do? The thought sent a shiver down my spine. I wasn't safe yet. Paul pulled up minutes later, his car rolling to a stop in front of me. The moment I slid into the passenger seat, I felt an odd sense of security. He didn't ask if I was okay. He didn't need to. Instead, he put the car in drive and pulled away from the curb. You made the right choice. I stared out the window, my hands clenched in my lap. Then why does it feel like my world is falling apart? Because you spent years believing in something that wasn't real, he said simply. But now? Now you get to decide what comes next. I swallowed hard. What if Bruce comes after me? Paul's jaw tightened. He won't. How can you be sure? Because he'll be too busy dealing with the consequences of his own actions. I turned to look at him. You mean... Paul met my gaze, his expression unreadable. It's happening, today. A sharp inhale escaped me. So soon. He dug his own grave, Elena. The evidence is airtight. It was only a matter of time. A strange mix of emotions churned inside me. I had spent so long convincing myself that Bruce was untouchable, that no matter what, he'd always find a way out. But now he was finally going to face the truth. And I wasn't going to be standing beside him when it happened. Hours passed in a blur. Paul took me to a safe place, a quiet apartment tucked away from the chaos. He made sure I had everything I needed, then left to handle the final stages of the case. I paced the small living room, my stomach in knots. Then it happened. The news broke. Bruce Carter, high-profile executive, arrested amid allegations of fraud and corruption. I stood frozen as the news anchor detailed the charges. Money laundering, embezzlement, evidence tampering. It was all there. And the man I had once trusted was being led away in handcuffs, his face pale, his jaw tight as cameras flashed around him. The world finally saw him for what he truly was. Not the powerful businessman, not the devoted husband, but a liar, a criminal. And I was free. Days turned into weeks. Bruce's trial became the talk of the city. More details surfaced, painting an even darker picture of the man I had once loved. And through it all, I stayed away. For the first time in years, I wasn't trapped in his shadow. I had no idea what the future held. But I knew one thing. I would never let myself be controlled again. Paul checked in on me often, his presence a steady comfort. One evening, as we sat in the quiet of my new apartment, he spoke softly. "What now?" I took a deep breath, looking out at the city skyline. "Now," I said, a small smile tugging at my lips. "I start over. And this time, I would do it on my own terms.